Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Block. So, tonight's one's going to be a bit special. I'm actually having a guest on this evening. He's a good friend of mine. Met him through the Tangotek community, and the fool basically just stuck around afterwards. And he's coming on tonight to go and talk to us about his experience of redstone and things like that. He will go and say he's not a brilliant redstoner, but some of the things that I've seen him go and make, he's good at redstone. And we have our little stage over here already. So we have my chair, we have his chair, and we have some obviously discussion points as well. What he doesn't realize is I have also made a little surprise for him. So as you can see, this is his chair here. Underneath is a nice big drop, and it goes all the way down. And basically what happens is the signal will go down, it will go and break the scaffold, the flooring will fall down, and then TNT be dispensed. He will be in creative mode, so he will not lose any of his stuff or anything like this. But I do feel that it will be quite funny to go and see. You can see that we've got the camera count. Oh, and also, let's just be honest as well. He's not going to know about this. He doesn't know about this, so his reaction will be 100% genuine. I hope you enjoy, guys. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Block. So today I have my first guest joining me. His name is Danners430. Sir, I see you drove here. It's a very nice van. Would you like to
get in here?
Would you like to remove yourself from there and come take a seat?
It's safe here.
It's safe out here, sir. That the world is unpeaceful. There's nothing at all that could happen.
Okay.
Yeah, open the door and just swim your way out. And then actually, I better go and make you a little ladder to get you up. Where have you gone now? Are you getting the EMF reader or something?
I was in the van.
Okay, so that's not me getting into my chair. So obviously, for people who do not know yourself, go and give yourself a little introduction.
So I'm Danners430. I came across this nerd a short while back after a certain derp decided to raid him during a charity stream, and since then I've just been tagging along, annoying him, occasionally coming up with rather silly suggestions, and yeah,
I can actually go and pretty much agree to all of that, coming up with the silly suggestions. You were one of the people who were there when it was the prank happened in the end. With Headcracker, and basically was one of the people who was pushing us to go and try and find a way for players to cause havoc and rule our world. So obviously people hopefully on the podcast will know that I do rule our world over on Twitch every Tuesday. And he is one of the biggest pains in the butts on those days, let's be honest. You know, it's you always find...
Especially when I have bits to spend.
Yes, when you have bits to spend and you go and always seem to aim it where I'm near lava. But let's go and say that one.
The best part is, the last couple of streams, you have got uncannily good at predicting exactly when I will hit the button. and you crouch within milliseconds of me pressing the cheer button.
Yeah, because it had become a point of where you had become slightly predictable. Obviously, the last stream
Yes.
you didn't go and use any bits on me.
I'd run out.
Another viewer had
I
went
just
and done that. So obviously, I wasn't holding shift at any one of those points. But for those of you who aren't following me over on Twitch, at the end of the Rule Our World streams, we will be uploading them up onto YouTube as a full playlist, so you can go and watch through them all and see all the havoc that this man here has caused me. So anyway, today we are going to be, as you may have seen by our beautiful stage, discussing redstone. Before we do, can you just go and toggle your mic over there? That's what these are supposed to be, they're microphones. Could you just toggle your mic? Just check it for me. Okay, toggle it back. Okay, I need to leave F1 and test yours. And that didn't work. Dang it! Please hold technical difficulties. Why didn't that? That should have worked. This, ladies and gentlemen, is just why I don't go and do redstone. Let's just do this and then this. Did it work?
Hi.
Hi. That didn't work, did it? What happened?
I got out.
You also somehow landed on the only ledge in the place.
No, I saw it coming and I got it beforehand. But,
right,
you know.
yeah. My redstone prowess at work here. As you can see, it failed. I did want to go and surprise you with my redstone knowledge of things not working. I don't understand why that didn't work. That should have. What? Why? Oh, I think this is bud powered, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, this is bud powered.
No. Hang on. I think I know exactly why. Oh no, it did work. I'm a doofus.
So this here, I think, is being bud powered by this light.
And this is why we hire professionals to do things.
Oh wait, I know what it is. It's the claims plugin. This area isn't claimed.
You're a derp.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this would have worked perfectly if it hadn't been for, you know, server.
I've broken my light now. There we go. Okay. Let's not speak of this and just get back to yeah. Right, okay. Let's just hang fire whilst we just repair the studio. We're back. After fixing the studio after my lovely derp. Yeah. So basically, this is one thing of the reason why I wanted to obviously talk to you today, because obviously you have a shop on the Phoenixcraft server, and it is solely, well, I say solely, it is basically a redstone
nightmare.
Yeah. I didn't want to even say that because obviously you're the one who made it, but yeah, it's to a person who, when I have a report of like somebody going in saying, I tried to use this shop and it didn't work, and even the admin of the server can't use the shop. And I'm like, something's
That's
broken.
precisely the problem. It's been open for I don't know how long, maybe a week. I've already had 2 reports that's broken.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Is
Exactly.
it's so there's 2 things that I can go and see it being. One, it's redstone in general, because obviously, as I say, we're going to go and get into this today. If it's like there's certain quirks of redstone that we all love, and there's other things that make little to no sense, or at least to somebody like myself. Quasi connectivity, bud powering, things like that are big areas of that. So, like, how you can power a piston with a redstone block like diagonally placed to it, and as long as you don't update that piston, and it'll just there's things like that still to this day go and just confuse me. And then obviously, as I say, if it's when you start going and building big shops and whatnot, and then you have this issue, you go, well, why is that doing that? So what's your pet hate, shall we say, of redstone? I think I covered it with the quasi connectivity, didn't I, really?
Pretty much, yeah. One of the things I would love to be able to do is push redstone blocks around without a problem. That just doesn't happen. Pretty much the only way you can push a redstone block about is if it's on the end of a slime block.
Yeah, that was. I was about to go and say you sort of can by slime and honey, but I see what you mean. You're on about like directly from the piston sort of thing.
Exactly.
Without
once you start involving slime
issues.
and honey, once you start involving slime and honey, you make it an absolute nightmare to make things tileable.
Yeah.
Well, that is one of my favourite things to do, is to make tileable contraptions.
I would agree and also disagree with that one, though, because obviously, of it being ever since honey blocks were involved, you can obviously now run those side by side. So you can build exactly the same contraption next to one another, but as long as it's just like it alternates with slime, honey.
Yes and no.
Yeah, but there's certain areas of where that would work, and then obviously there's certain areas which I'm assuming is where you're looking into there, of where that doesn't work.
Yeah, the times when it doesn't work is when you've got things next to each other. You push up one in the middle, works absolutely fine, but then the one that you've pushed up, the top slime block, latches onto the block on the end of the honey blocks. If you know what I mean.
Yes, I see what you mean now. So you're on about having it as like a...
if I were to do a quick demonstration...
A trigger system sort of thing. I'm more thinking of like seeing redstone doors and things like that. So obviously there's quite a few combinations from when honey blocks originally came out. One of the people being like Mumbo Jumbo, who went and did a... What was it, a 35 by 35 door or something like that? Stupid.
Exactly. So if you have something like this...
Yep. And then I know exactly where you were going now. Yeah. If it's so like you level that up and that
wasn't meant to happen, but okay.
Yeah, that won't work because obviously of it being of the bud powering of the piston there. So you would need to run repeaters into that, but I understand exactly what you're saying. If it's just like so...
So this...
Yeah, and then you wouldn't be able to go and...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, that is now attached to these.
Yeah. Or you just have funkiness like that.
Moving on.
So yeah, as I say, I agree with that one. As I say, the bud powering and just like,
yeah,
it almost seems as well if it's sometimes it's like one thing will work and then you try and do that with another thing. So like, for example, we'll go and find something that works with a piston, but then say you want to go and use it with a dropper, and it's like a completely different workaround. The dropper has a completely different mechanic, and I know the two completely different components, but it's still one that you just sometimes wish it was a little bit more consistent.
Yes. A good example is, I didn't know for the longest possible time that you could measure the contents of a dropper with a comparator through a block.
Did you not?
Like, that shouldn't be possible if you think... Like, logically it shouldn't.
Yeah, granted, logically it shouldn't, but at the same point, like, I have always referred to redstone as almost like the electronics of Minecraft. But it's really not if you actually go and start thinking about it, because it's like when you start going into the components of, like, so as you just said there, the comparator through a block, there is nothing, as far as I am aware, in the modern day and age that would go and do exactly the same thing in electronics. You'll obviously, you can have current detectors and things like that where you don't need to physically touch the wires, but you know, you're going through a small piece of insulation, not a 1 by, what is it, a 1 meter by 1 meter block.
Yeah, it's just like, why is that detecting? Logically, you shouldn't. Anything else you put here.
Logically, it shouldn't, but at the same point as well, though, I go and say that this block here would be, this block here is like conducting the signal, almost. That's the only way I can sort of like go and say that. So it's like, instead of it being... I'll use like the terms we sort of know of. Instead of it being grounded out, it's going and conducting through, and that's the only way I can see it being of that.
But at the same time, that component isn't actively outputting any signal. I can completely understand that a comparator extracts a signal from something. That is how a comparator works. It extracts a signal level out of something.
Well, you say it goes and extracts a signal level out.
Block.
So you say it extracts a signal out, but you can also do that circuit. The one of it's where it's now that is taking away from this one, so only then a certain amount of signal comes through.
Yeah.
So again, this is another different circuit of where I quite like these circuits, or the timers as well. So like these, and then you have the 2 redstone dust and whatnot. There's a lot of use for comparators, but they also again have a mechanic that doesn't seem to make sense.
Yes, I agree.
But it's interesting with how Mojang developed it. I will admit, because it does go and sometimes make you look and scratch your head and go, well, how can I go and do this? You know, I have all of these, redstone materials.
It makes it really interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
That is what makes redstone so much fun.
Well, as I say, it's also how it came on and whatnot as well. So obviously, if it was originally in, what was it, Alpha 1.1? It was when it first was, and that was the redstone ore. And that was, I think it was just called red dust, and it was one of those blocks, so if you walked on it, just used to break. I wasn't around back in those days, so I'm not 100% sure. This is only just what I've read. So apparently that quickly got scrapped, and then it just became redstone ore with in another beta version, I think, or it was an alpha version. I can't remember exactly now, but I find that an interesting
was for ages.
Yeah, I find that an interesting one. If it was just like, well, you added it at the beginning of the game, so in alpha, why? Again, it was one of where I've gone, why wasn't it given a functionality back then? I really shouldn't drink iron brew. It's giving me really bad gas at the moment. I don't have the Scottish constitution to do it. Too many girders. Many girders.
And here's me drinking lemonade.
Well, I've got to go and drink it. I've got a Scot on. It's like one of the country's drinks. We got to go and do it.
I love it. Best part is it's made like 5 minutes away from me. The factory is literally right down the hill.
You raid the factory on an evening, I heard.
I should. How do you think I got the original recipe before you?
Oh, shush. Right, so there's that was the one, obviously, as I say, is your biggest pet peeve, basically, with redstone. What is your favourite block of the redstone component? So either it could be on the wall here, or it could be in the inventory still. I've went and put a few out, but... So, whilst you're deciding that one, mine, I will admit, is the Observer. And the reason why I say the Observer is because it is one of the most game-changing blocks, I feel, that Mojang added to the game. Just because...
I'd probably be inclined to agree.
Even though it's only one tick that it will go and kick out, it's so useful for, like, chaining. So, obviously, as I say, if it was when that failed thing just happened when I tried to make you fall through the floor... if it was that I went and sent down through an observer chain, so obviously it was just the first one went and did, it would then quickly go and travel down. It's not having to go and have those, like, how we used to do it, where it was like you had to step it down using slabs or things like this. It's just straight down, boom, triggers the system, and, Bob's your uncle, you're there. Obviously, we've just finished, before recording this session, we've just helped another server mate going and finishing her farm off, which you've designed, which, you've sort of overcomplicated, let's be honest, but you're using observers to...
I like overcomplicating things. I mean, have you seen my shop?
Yeah, no, as I say, I know you like overcomplicating things, because obviously there's a simpler way to do it, but you're also one of these people, I find, that you don't just go, oh, you know what, I'm just going to go and look on YouTube, and I'll be honest, I'm guilty of doing this a lot. It's like, oh, right, I need to go and make something that does this. What's the most efficient way of doing it? Oh, somebody's already done it. I'll copy their design.
Yes.
You're one of these people who goes, no, I'm going to go and have a play first. Oh, I've just come up with this design. It works.
PG, sir, PG.
Hey?
Never mind.
I'm not going to have to edit that out, but what are you on about?
I'm going to go have a play first.
Really? See, ladies and gentlemen,
this is what I have.
This is what I have to work with. This is what I have to deal with. Somebody remind me why I keep this guy around.
At heart.
Hey, you.
We are both
Can you remind me why I keep this guy around? Honestly, I really don't know. I've now completely lost my train of thought. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Choo-choo. Appropriate. Highly appropriate.
Yeah. But we're not going to go into that. We may go and touch on things. We may touch on that later. Behave.
Complicating things.
Yeah.
No.
So you overcomplicated a simple melon and pumpkin farm, because obviously they changed it so originally you couldn't go and put a block above where the pumpkins grew. The pumpkins then refused to grow. They then changed that, I believe, in the Village and Pillage update. So you've made a farm which relies on observers to go and detect when the pumpkin grows, and then obviously go and smash it down without repeatedly triggering the observer. So you have...
Well, it does. It
does,
is
but
how it works.
It has a system, though, of it's where it cancels it out. It doesn't turn into a clock. That's what I mean by that.
Yeah, you don't want to see my test world right now. It's just full of those clocks.
Yeah, as I said, I found that out of it's because I didn't think, and again, this is another mechanic which I find quite weird. I thought of when the piston extended, the head classed as invisible.
It does not.
So, well, this is originally when I went and started playing with redstone and things like this.
Yeah.
That was what I was under the impression of, because obviously if it's when you look at that, it slightly vanishes whilst it extends, and then when it goes and retracts, you see the texture vanish. So I always thought of it classed as it being then invisible. So I thought, well, if I put an observer here, it's not going to go and register an invisible thing. But obviously, because it's there breaking something, it can't be invisible. So it was a catch-22.
I actually think it is. What I think it is, and obviously, this is just me thinking. I don't know what the actual game mechanic is here. I think that piston head is actually invisible when it extends, for as long as it is in the process of extending. As soon as it becomes extended, like it finishes the animation, it's then no longer invisible.
Yeah, I feel it's the same sort of thing as like a falling entity, so like a falling anvil or a falling piece of sand.
Exactly.
It becomes an invisible entity whilst it's in the air, i.e. it can't hit you, it can't hurt you, but as soon as it hits a solid again, it becomes back to that entity, and that's why if it's, you have because people dropping anvils in your head.
Yes, because an observer can actually detect when you retract a piston, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it goes and does on the push and the retract, I believe.
Exactly. So it has to be a solid block.
Yeah, exactly. But it's got to be a solid block anyway as well for if it's pushing an item or obviously breaking an item. So in regards to the pumpkin farms or sugarcane farms, things like that, it's it's got to be a solid entity to go and perform that action. But obviously, as I say, this was a few years ago when I first started learning, and this is where I thought, well, obviously because it vanishes, it's not really there. So then I used to go in as a save. It's like I used to put the observer right next to what I was trying to break, and then the piston would push into it, and then all of a sudden the piston's like repeatedly firing, and I'm just going, well, why is that doing that? So it's like, okay, well, let's put a repeater in to slow it down. Oh no, I've just now made a slower clock. What?
Yes. And that's exactly why I put 2 observers in there, because the second observer fires out 1 tick and 1 tick only, and it will never send a second tick.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, I obviously showed you afterwards a simpler design, but you didn't realise that would work. So it's all
because I wasn't thinking about that.
It's all trial and error. If you think about it, of somebody who's been doing redstone for years, and I'm going to go back to obviously these people who I watch. Impulse SV. On the Hermitcraft server, he made a melon farm. He decided he was going to use target blocks. Now, target blocks obviously are the new thing, so obviously he wanted to incorporate them, but obviously they're rather expensive to go and make. It's a lot of wheat and redstone to go and make just one of these things. And he put them behind all of the pistons on his farm. So it was the redstone dust would split out, so it was like he had the observer on the stem of the melon, a dust behind, and then 2 target blocks. And that was how he thought that he had to do that. And it's just like, no, just put a block behind the observer and then 2 dust either side of the piston. You're saving yourself a target block there. And also it looks a lot neater. Because I don't actually know, have I got a target block? I haven't. Why have I not got a target block? Let's just go in here. This can go here. It's not exactly a pretty block, should we say? I know it's meant to be a target and whatnot, but if you want it in a build and things like that, I think it would be a rather hard thing to try and hide. But it's one of these. They're always adding things. Nice try. I'm going to take this off of my hand so you don't try and shoot it in my hand. But yeah, so as I said, they're always trying to go and add new things. So as I say, there was the lectern in Villager Pillage, which obviously that's a villager workstation, and it can be used for redstone signaling. So obviously, as you turn the pages of the book, you use a comparator. It goes and gives stronger or weaker signals. Which again,
that is always a very fun one to play with.
Yeah, exactly. If it was,
you can actually use that to make a binary decoder.
Yes,
At some point, I want to make that.
Well, this is again, if it was the one I says to you on my last season of Titancraft, I made a shop, and how people used to order things was you would turn to the page of a book, click a button, and then it would dispense that item.
Yep.
So again,
it's so much fun to be able to utilize that. There's one thing I wish they would add to it. One thing I would wish that you could do with the lectern, and that is if you used a comparator to push a redstone signal into it, you could then change the pages with redstone. So basically the reverse of what you can currently do. Currently, you change the pages manually. That outputs a certain level of a redstone signal, 1 to 15. Let's say you have a 15-page book. Page 15 outputs a level 15 signal. If you reverse that circuit and have a comparator pointing in to the lectern, and you put, say, 10 strength signal into it, I would love it if that could change the page to page 10, for example.
What would
and you could then use
that? What would be the use? So is it like, are you thinking like
adventure?
Are you thinking like maybe adventure map things? If it's where you take the book around with you,
for
and
example,
you come to a puzzle, and instead of it being like on a sign, it being like turn to page 10, it would be you just put it in the lectern, it's automatically on page 10.
You could do that, for example. Yeah, something like that.
That is an interesting idea, but
I'm sure there's plenty of other redstone ideas I can't think of right now.
Yeah, as I say, I'm only just thinking of it of like maybe as a mini game point of view or like an adventure map point of view, but I personally wouldn't see really much more than that, if that makes sense.
I'm sure we're going to have like 20 people saying this is what you could use it for.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, as I say, yeah, maybe. I'm actually having a full-on blank now as well. The only, as I say, the two things I could think of is mini-games and adventure maps, but that is
I had this idea yesterday. I had the idea yesterday, and there were a couple of things that I thought it could be used for. Guess what? I've forgotten them.
Oh, brilliant. Well done.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know the thing called write it down? That's always a good one. Always have a notepad with you. Always have a notepad with you. Even if it is on your phone. Yes. I do this all of the time. I will have an idea and I will write it down. Because I have done it so many times. It's just like, oh, that's a good idea. I'll go and do something about with that. And then you come to do it and you just go, what was that idea again?
Yep.
Many times.
That is exactly why earlier on I was doing a bit of research into the new mechanics, specifically skulk sensors, and just by pure chance, the person I was watching used a monostable circuit. And I just instantly realised that is how I'm going to build the pumpkin farm. But instead of writing it down, I just logged on straight away and just built it because...
Well, if I didn't, I would forget. Because you had the chance to, if that makes sense. But obviously, there's sometimes where that doesn't happen. Yes. You know, I have video ideas all on my phone and whatnot. Of it's like, things I was going to go and do on Titancraft, things I was going to do on a server called CommuniCraft, things I was going to go and do on Creepers and Cream, things I was going to do on my survival series. All of those have not happened. But if I ever want to go and revisit that idea, I still have the idea there. It's still written down. It's not going to be like, in 6 months I go, oh, what was this idea I was going to go and do again for this video? I can literally just plug into my notes and go, that was the idea. Right, let's do it. So obviously, as I say, the podcast was one. My first one was originally going to be something completely different. It wasn't going to be Twitch Rivals.
Hang on, something completely different. You mean a Monty Python sketch?
No. No, it wasn't going to be that, sir. No.
I had to. And now for something completely different.
Yeah, no. No, the You actually know the idea. I told you the idea.
Guess what? Forgot.
So the idea was, I was going to go and take a. So bearing in mind as well, if it was when I first had this idea, it was at Minecon last year after the live stream, when they announced that they were going to do all different like crystal generations and caves and all of this sort of stuff. And my idea was I was going to, as soon as the lockdown had ended, take a trip up north and go to an amethyst mine and go and actually show how natural amethyst generated and do it as a comparison to the Minecraft generation of amethyst. Because, you know, I'm a nerd and it happens. But, you know.
Let's face it, we're both nerds.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You can't really get away from that one.
No, we can't go and get away with it. But as I say,
No.
it is one that was my original idea for this. And I still have it written down, and I still would love to go and do that. But I don't think that's going to be possible before the release of the new Caves and Cliffs.
Yes.
Which is unfortunate, because obviously, one, it's finance, but mainly two is the restrictions that we have across the UK.
Yes.
That is the main area that is going to cause us hassles there. But anyway, you did go and touch on the new redstone mechanics. What do you personally think of the Sculk Sensor? Have you actually had a play with it, or
I haven't been playing with it. No, I've been looking at it. I haven't had time to actually play with it properly. I ain't sure, honestly.
I think it's an interesting concept. It's another one that I think we need to go and see it fully implemented when the game is fully done. So when that release comes, and I know that there's some people who have already been playing with them in the snapshots and whatnot. And I can't confirm this. I can't obviously confirm this, but I'm pretty sure the Sculk Sensor is done now. They're more looking at the generation of things.
Yes.
Like, personally, the one I quite like is obviously how they can detect vibrations is what they're classing it as. It's not sound. And
I mean, sound is a vibration.
Well, yeah, but it's like there's certain things. So, like, you know, you can go and sneak past one by just crouching.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can understand that one, but that also does mean that when you're building with those things in a redstone circuit, you're consistently crouching. You know, there's two ways to go and get around it. You either consistently crouch or you surround it in wool. But then when you start breaking the wool block, I believe that goes and triggers them. So it's just like,
It is going to make building redstone circuits with them outside of creative a massive challenge. The only way I can think to mitigate that is an enchantment on boots.
Well, either I would go and say an enchantment on boots, or of looking at, because, as I say, they have pretty much fully developed that now, you're going to have to, like, build it in reverse. So instead of putting your, like, building your input line first, you would have to build your input line last. Which, that could be interesting to go and see how.
Yeah. Or everything disconnected and then connect it at the same time at the end. But it's still going to be a pain in the bahookie to build.
I think it's going to be interesting. There's also the one of being with the because I know I asked you this question the other day of if so. We'll obviously cover this more later, but we actually, you know what, we can cover it now. Let's go and say if you had a job at Mojang, you could go and add any feature to Redstone. What would it be? I already know your answer to this because we discussed it the other night. But
yes, and the answer is a wireless circuit.
Yeah,
Sculk sensors are a wireless circuit. They are the perfect example of how Redstone would do wireless circuits. It's almost a thing of beauty how they have bodged it. It's not a bodge. It's designed
how they've
to
how
look
they've
like
implemented
bodge.
how they've implemented and designed it.
Yes. When I say a bodge, I mean they have designed it perfectly, because the entire point of redstone, as far as I'm concerned, redstone is supposed to be a bodge. In the world of Minecraft, the idea is it is bodged together by the player. And that is why I think sculk sensors are a beautiful example of that. They're not perfect wireless redstone. They are a great bodge.
Yeah,
And
I couldn't actually have said.
I'm not saying that Mojang have bodged the coding. I am saying in-game they are a bodge.
Yeah, it goes and fits with the quirkiness and the mechanics of redstone. It is a perfect like fit, if that makes sense. It's like the missing piece of redstone, of that redstone jigsaw, of where, like, you know, for years, like, I think the most wireless redstone I ever did was it was an AFK point in the sky. I had a dropper with a button that used to go and drop down an item into another hopper, which would then trigger a system, which was like a farm, I believe.
Yes.
And I know there's other people who have used that system, and that was what I classed as wireless redstone, because obviously I was up in the sky and I did that. This is wireless redstone, because this is like, you go and trigger that one thing and it can go and send off, and there is no wires, there's nothing touching it, and it's not now just vertical, you can send it horizontally.
Yes.
And so, as I say, they're an interesting, I will admit, mechanic. So, as I say, if it's obviously you are going to have to probably incorporate a lot of wool in some of your redstone circuits. Which obviously
wool
some
farms
people
are going to become rather more important.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of people who do redstone on large scale builds do use wool to go and like label their circuits, so they know if it's like, okay, I've got this problem, that's the green circuit, I need to learn to go and do this. So it's not just like, okay, which iron block is it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, game, for just showing me my inventory. I must have just
Did you press that button?
I think I've hit a hotkey somewhere, because my inventory just popped up then.
Well,
I know for a fact.
Put the fire out and put the hotkey away. Make it a cold key. Sorry. Yes,
but yeah. So as I say, if it was, those are an interesting one. Now one as well, which I want to go and touch on with you, and it's got me actually quite excited with this. There is that. Well, hang on. Let me get my notes up a minute. And whilst this is just booting up, there was a April Fool's prank many years ago by none other than Mumbo Jumbo, and it was called Bluestone. And hang on, let me just go and find the date for that. That was 6 years ago. And this was the 15W14A snapshot. Just trying to find the date. 1st of April 2015. And Mumbo released a video showing off Bluestone. Now, Bluestone was that one of it was where it would not go and connect with standard redstone. Did you ever see that video?
I did see the video. I loved it. That was back when I was young and gullible and believed it.
Well, it was amazingly done, let's be honest. It was very, very well done. He did get a lot of people with that one. And basically, obviously, after that point, a lot of people went and says they wanted another redstone component, shall we say, that would allow you to run lines next to one another. Now, that suggestion has been hanging around ever since that video. There are a lot of like Reddit posts, there's the Minecraft suggestions page, it's been upvoted, all things like this. However, in 2019, Mojang did go and say secondary redstone. Sorry, actually, I've also missed a step there. There was also one with the village and pillage update. And people are unsure. Like, people, obviously, there was when the video released, and somebody noticed the villager was throwing around a piece of redstone dust that was blue. So obviously, they were just losing their mind. They thought bluestone was officially coming to the game because it was basically, it wasn't lapis, it was redstone, but it was blue.
Yeah.
I personally have a feeling it was just somebody accidentally texturized that the wrong color. And then obviously afterwards there was a statement from Mojang saying secondary redstone, i.e. bluestone, has been rejected. It was decided we would just be adding to existing redstone systems instead. This was in 2019. Now, we're 2 years later. I've not seen anything substantially change, shall we say, with the redstone. The only major change is the cross dot change.
Yes, where you can basically do this.
Yeah, that. It's like, that to me, it was like, yeah, that's good. So obviously the dot doesn't then connect with, like a piston around it, for example. Whereas the cross does, because obviously that makes sense. You can see it's obviously connected and things like that. You obviously have the target block that goes and, change. It goes and changes the direction of the redstone and things like this. But that also doesn't seem to solve, the problem that a lot of people want.
Yes, you cannot do this.
Exactly. That a lot of, I myself have done it before. If it's like, I want to send a wire down to this farm, I want to send a wire down to this farm, and you have to ensure that there's either a gap or you have to go and block it. So what you're doing now of where you pinch the redstone.
Yep.
But then it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and obviously a lot of people don't like big redstone contraptions. They want them as compact as possible. So it's just like,
the only real option you have is this, and it's a pain in the butt because it's many resources.
Oh yeah, exactly. That is the one of being. Is it's either you use repeaters or you use observers. Those are the two things that you can go and do to send signal in one direction and then send a signal back the other way. And I personally just go, can we have something that just will not connect? Please. It's just like, I don't understand why that bluestone got rejected. I don't know, obviously, what the developers thought, if it was maybe too overpowered, if I don't know. If you think about it, we'll go back to what I said earlier. I feel that redstone is the electronics of Minecraft. In electrics, you have different coloured cables to do different jobs. So in your house, you will have red, black, yellow, and green. In a plug, you'll have brown, blue, yellow, and green. So obviously the yellow and green is always consistent. That's your earth. I've got to get this right now, I think. Blue and black are... I'm probably going to get shouted at by electricians now. I think those are the neutral ones, and then it's red and brown are the lives. I can go and do a plug, no problems. I don't do house electrics, so...
Blue and red is the old standard. Black and brown, I believe, is the new standard.
Right, okay. As I said, I'm going by when I helped do the house I'm obviously in now, I helped do the wiring many years ago, and I was just a kid, and we had to just basically put in a simple plug socket. But it's
how many times did you go fizzle pan?
None. The breaker was off. I was smart enough to at least turn the breaker off. I've done it a couple of times.
That's a shame.
I've done it a few times where I have been electrocuted, but
yeah, same here. You know exactly the incident I'm talking about.
It's generally just like minor shocks that I've had. I've never had anything, touch wood, that bad. You know, if it's
generally touching wood is a very good idea when you're talking about electricity.
Yes, you know, the leather sole boots and leather mats and wood.
Yep.
Yeah.
And not sticking implements into, you know, toasters. Yeah.
That guy. Yeah. That guy there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We were taught that at school. Don't go and do that. This guy is many years later, and he goes and does it, and then goes and complains to me that his hand hurts, and it's just like, well, what do you want me to do about it? You stuck a flipping knife in a toaster, you fool.
Yes. It wasn't pleasant when I did it.
Can I also just go and point out as well, I am going to go and say this, we're already like 40-odd minutes in. I knew for a fact that this is how this podcast was going to go. The two of us we just go off on tangents, and we will just talk random rubbish for about like 5 minutes, and then go, oh wait, no, we're actually supposed to be talking about this, and then we go back on topic, and then back off topic. And it's just consistently changing lanes with the two of us, and I am going to go and say that because obviously there is a van in the background. You know, my lovely van there. I'm quite happy with that. I wished I'd redstoned it somehow.
And I wish you had thought of the number plate before I did.
Oh, the number plate was good. I like the number plate that you did, though. Oh, hang on. There it is. No, because again, the one I was actually thinking of doing with the van was using a daylight sensor. I don't use daylight sensors enough.
Yes.
I was thinking of trying to go and figure out what the signal was of the sun now, and put then the day cycle on. And so obviously as it was coming night, I'd have the top bar, which is currently 2 sea lanterns. I was going to have that as 2 redstone lamps, and obviously they turn on as it starts to become nighttime. I thought that would be quite cool, but obviously being not a builder, I can't actually relieve a minecart either. Being not a builder and this being top slabs here, I thought that was going to be quite fun to try and figure out, but
yes,
you know, it was one of those of, I thought maybe that would be an idea to attempt, but in the end we sort of ran out of time, and you know, we've seen my capabilities as a redstoner earlier in the video of when the trap failed. So yeah, it's a good job that I don't go and do this for, like, you know, trapping people for fun. I just use Smite.
I just know I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave my house on Phoenixcraft in a few days, and I'm just going to fall into a pit of explodey stuff, and it's going to be your fault.
That's just the slime farm, sir.
I don't know how often I've fallen into that.
Quite often, because I went and knocked you. I knocked you in there a few times, and then obviously you went and told me if it was just like, dear Stein, there's like explodey stuff and bad guys down the bottom of it. And it's just like, and it's your build now. You should light it up, sir.
I still think the best part of that
even
was
though
when you tried
to
trap me in Bedrock.
Oh, that was.
Do you remember?
I was. Oh man, I was. Just. It was every single time. You escaped about 15 times.
Yep.
Easily about 15 times. And it was just there. It was just like, I didn't realise you had ender pearls in. Obviously, I forgot that you can go into mouse mode now with your elytra, so you did that one. There was another one that you did, and I still don't know how you did that. And I'm just like, what the heck is happening? I had to go and obviously check online, because I thought there was another admin on who was then trolling me, and just, yeah.
The best one was the number of times you didn't realise until you placed the anvils. You placed the
Yeah,
anvil.
I placed the anvil, and then it was just like, look, and go, wait, where the heck have you gone now? You're stood behind me. Oh, how did you get out? Oh, that, as I say, if it is a good laugh with me and you, I will go and admit that one. And I'm also going to go and say this. I'm going to go. Yeah, we go and obviously, as I say, we play Phasmo together on Saturdays. We started that one, generally because of how well we get on. And I'm actually going to go and thank Tango basically for this, because the amount of awesome people I have met through his community is just incredible. So I am obviously going to go ahead and shout out Tango. He does still make YouTube videos. He does go and stream on Twitch. So go and over and just check out his community, guys, because he is amazing. And if it wasn't for him, I would have never met this Scottish derp. But, you know, that's another story.
I would never have met this Barommy nerd, so...
I'm going to murder you.
You walked into that one. Doesn't work when I'm in creative. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yes, it does.
Excuse me, I have a button to press.
He's just going to go and push his button now so he can go back into creative mode.
I push your buttons all the time, let's face it.
Yes, you do. You go and push my buttons on roll as well.
Yes, there are some rather nice buttons in a row. There are some that go bang.
There are some that go bang, and as I say, this is one of those ones of it's, as I say, guys, I am going to go and obviously have people on for podcasts and whatnot, and it will probably devolve into complete and utter madness, because most of the people who I will have on, I know and I will go and say have become friends with over the years. And Dan, I will admit, hasn't been around for years, but honestly, it feels like he has. It really, really does. That we get on really, really well. We go and just banter with each other. We go and, obviously, as I say, we'll go and find projects and we work on them together. And we do work really well as a team. But we also do go and, like, you know, the casual, you know, dig in the ribs with the elbow sort of thing.
Case in point.
You killed the minecart. You broke my studio. I know he's going to try and shoot me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to go and wrap it up for a very derpy podcast. I don't even know basically what we've discussed. We've discussed some redstone. We've just discussed some randomness. And we're going to go and sign off with a goodbye to Danis. So, goodbye, Danis. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. We are going to go and be making some more of these. Hopefully we'll get some more people on. If you have any recommendations for people you would like to go and see on, then go and please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next one.